External validation, not only in bodybuilding, but also in life, not only for competitors, but also for people that are going through their own stuff and they're going to therapy and realizing external validation is a pattern that can rob you from your own happiness for a very long time, and it's going to keep coming up in every relationship you have. Doesn't matter if it's a romantic one, doesn't matter if it's relationship with your family members, whether it's a work relationship, doesn't matter. I've had external validation even with my coaches, with my mentors, with my university professors. I've always been dependent on somebody telling me that I'm doing fine, that what I have going on is working properly and is going the way it should be, just because internally I've never given that to myself. This is where the lacking piece is. And if you've already been to therapy or you know not a lot, but something about psychology, you know that trauma bonding, when you bond with a lacking piece from yourself, you don't really get to know the person and you don't really make a relationship based on interests about something that the other person you see yourself with, familiar with, you bond because of your internal traumas. And of course, long term, this is something that is very, very toxic. And if you keep working on yourself, sooner or later you're going to realize it. And unfortunately, these relationships cannot last. Just because this happiness I constantly talk about, this inner peace, is completely dependent on you. It's not dependent on anybody else. Yes, for the time being, while you're receiving this external validation, it can feel very nice. But if you start digging in yourself and you start building what is missing from you, you understand that this person was never the root of the problem or the relationship or whatever. If we talk about bodybuilding and external validation, it's a very slippery slope just because you base your worth on your appearance. Our sport is based on how we look. It's not based on how strong you are, how fast you are, how high you can jump, or whatever the Olympic Games are based on. It's not a team sport. You're completely on your own, and it depends on your physique on the day of the competition, which is one day out of 4 months of work. If we only count the competition prep, if we count the whole off season, in most cases, an athlete would step on stage like, let's say, 4 to 5 times. This is 5 days out of 365. And of course, when you've seen your best, I've seen how I can look enhanced. I've been on steroids, I've been on PEDs, I've been on diuretics, I've seen my legs on 400 carbs, on anti-estrogens, peaked with muscularity, vascularity, with veins and everything, dry as hell. I've seen that. So if this is the best I could look, you can imagine how bad the external validation gets after that when you constantly say to yourself, you look worse and people have seen my best, they're gonna judge me, I don't look like that anymore. And when you add social media into that, the combination is destruction, destruction of your psyche. because you constantly compare yourself, you evaluate yourself based on what other competitors are doing, what your best was, and until you start working through that issue and you start realizing that this external validation needs to turn inwards and you should never base your worth on likes, on past looks, on whatever it is, how pretty you are, how skinny you are, how muscular you are. These are all very, very bad criteria on which your happiness is dependent on, because you need to understand that validation and internal peace are a very big power which you're giving to somebody else, doesn't matter who. It's something that should be only yours. And once you say to yourself, yes, I'm very happy with how I went through that. I did what I could, I did my best. This should be it. Yes, somebody can say you didn't you didn't do enough. Somebody else can say, oh my God, you are amazing. This should never stray you away from the internal peace you have. This is mastery, this is happiness, this is the internal peace I constantly preach about because I've understood lately. This is the moment I want to get to. I don't care about career, I don't care about money. Yes, everything's very nice, family and all that. For me, my own goal in life is to reach that state. It doesn't matter if you have something negative to say to me or something positive. At the end of the day, it will not make me feel different inside of myself. Yes, of course, I'm still gonna have reactions and emotions. I'm a human being, but I can regulate myself on my own. And I'm not gonna place my value into the hands of other people. This is what external validation is. And it's something that until you work through, I told you in the beginning of the video, it's gonna keep creeping up in every relationship that you have.